take the money. Academies were originally sold to us as a way of leveraging money into the state school from the private sector. Gradually, we heard less and less about all this money that the sponsors were going to give, as sponsors started to realise that it wasn't good public relations to give money to academies, it was bad public relations. Until now, or what it says, and I looked this up, what it says on the Department of Children's Schools and Families website about sponsorship money is this. On establishing an academy, the sponsor sets up an endowment fund, the proceeds of which are spent by the Academy Trust on measures to counteract the impact of deprivation on education in their local community. That's all. No mention of an amount. Come in endowment fund of £5. Actually, I suspect in lots of cases it's an endowment fund of a lot less than that. In the case of the Kent Academies, as far as I can see, it's an endowment fund of absolutely nothing, or it's an endowment fund of help in kind, our old friend help in kind, which is normally the services of a retired executive, from an elderly executive too senior to fire, but too tired to be of any use, who could be placed on committees and whose time can be charged out at a generous consultancy rate as a pro bono, as a generous contribution from a public-spirited company to the community. So the money has gone. Why? Because nobody gave them any money. Why is nobody giving them any money? Because instead of being good public relations, it turned out to be lousy public relations. And the reason it turned out to be lousy public relations is because all of us have been at work to make damn sure it is lousy public relations. Even when they are giving money, they don't like to let you know. I mean, Ken Muller is here somewhere, and when he finds out who the sponsor is and who the person is who's giving them £1 million in Islington, I'm sure that we'll be the first to know. But it's not in there. In Herefordshire, the Steiner Schools Fellowship has apparently raised £1 million to create the first Steiner Academy in that well-known inner-city disadvantaged area of Much Dew Church, population 250, right next door to some second homes, right between a street of second homes and a listed church. But they won't tell us where they raised their £1 million from. I'm told the United Learning Trust, I was told the other day the United Learning Trust had raised £10 million. I was told this enormous pride by Sir Ewan Harper, who runs it. We've raised £10 million. Is that right? I said, who's given it to you? And he's like, I can't tell you who's given it to, but we've raised £10 million. Who? From whose money is it? Why are they giving money? Well, as Ken Muller will tell you, it's as important that we should know who gives money to academies as that we should know who gives money to political parties. Because the reason we need to know who gives money to political parties is we need to know whether we need to be able to judge for ourselves whether they're expecting any favours for that money. And exactly the same applies to academies. So I think wherever we have a secret donation, we've got to chase it up and try and find out who gives it. Ken Muller's doing it in Islington. I hope other people will do it whenever they see that and ensure that they chase it via the Freedom of Information. Now, what about the original Academy prospectus, the idea of what they were supposed to be about? The original Academy prospectus is still on the United Learning Trust website. I'll just read it through to you, see whether it relates to academies that you're aware of. City Academy status has only been offered to the worst performing schools in the country. An academy is a fully comprehensive school with a specialism, and the government pays for the capital project of building a new school or undertaking major refurbishment. They are set up in areas of major deprivation where there is a failing school already. I'm sending this to my church. They are the successors to the city technology colleges introduced in 1980. There are 4 sentences there, and every one except the last one is the exact opposite of the truth as we know it today. They are not fully comprehensive schools. City Academy status has not been offered to the worst schools in the country, and I'm sorry to spare Ken Waller's blushes again, but the fact is that, that the school he works in is doing extremely well and is being closed to make way for an academy. They are not set up in areas of major deprivation, if they ever were, but they are the successors of city technology colleges. Those were the original ideas, but it's all slipped. It's all disappeared. It's all had to go. They've had to create them wherever they can. Why? Because we've made it difficult. That's the second of our achievements. The third one, the idea that they were all about sprinkling private sector gold dust. You understand the theory. The theory is that there's absolutely nothing the public sector can do that the private sector can't do better. That somehow we were going to have loads and loads of private sector sponsors sprinkling private sector gold dust by phoning up and asking the attendance figures from the backs of their limousines. That's not happening. The sponsors aren't private sector people anymore. The sponsors aren't companies anymore. If there is any private sector, any entrepreneurial gold dust to be spread over the education system, they're not doing it anymore. Because the private sector sponsors have run like mad, and the sponsors are public sector people. It's taxpayers' money that's going into it from their local authorities, their universities. Why? Because the private sector don't want anything to do with it, and if they do want anything at all to do with it, they don't want their name attached to it. That's our achievement. That we've made it really bad public relations for. That they're set up in main areas of major deprivation where there is a failing school already. They're not. They're set up wherever they can grab them. What remains, all that remains, all that, all those changes to the system have come about because we've been here, because we've been saying the things we have, because so that we have had an effect on it, and it is worth keeping up the pressure. What we've not done, of course, is to change the central idea that schools are to be taken out of the hands of the people who have a stake in them, of the teachers, the parents, the local community, and handed over to the absolute grip, absolute control of a private sector sponsor. We haven't changed that, but the fact that so much has had to be changed, that, it seems to me, is an indication that we haven't been wasting our time, we've been achieving something, and if we go on as we are, we'll achieve a great deal more. Thank you very much.